I'm pretty sure a lot of you have gamed in your life, as it's been around for a long period of time. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you have a favorite game. Now, I asked the question, how did that game become your favorite game of all time? Was it nostalgia? Was it playing with certain people? Was it just the fact that you just love playing it? Whatever it is, we all have a favorite game. And I beg the question, what makes that game your favorite game of all time? Because there's so many games that come out every year, and challenges are number one, top of the hill, king of the hill, game of the year. And I always question myself, what makes Final Fantasy VII Remake my favorite game of all time? Now, I asked my wife the other day, when she first met me, what was my favorite game? Because I find it sometimes that you get better answers about yourself when it's someone that you know from the outside. And my wife told me, when I first met you, you didn't like Final Fantasy VII all that much. It wasn't your favorite Final Fantasy, it was 13, and also Kingdom Hearts 2. So it made me wonder, like, what changed? I mean, I would have to say it was Final Fantasy VII Remake. I always had a fascination with Final Fantasy VII, but I do think Final Fantasy VII Remake really pushed it to be my favorite because of just how well the game was made and how great the story was being rebuilt and how grand this story has gotten. Even now with Rebirth out, it has skyrocketed to a whole nother level. And it just makes me adore these characters even more. And not just the remake, Crisis Core, Dirge of Cerberus, anything that goes under the Final Fantasy VII umbrella is my favorite. But again, it wasn't always like that. At some point in my life, it was Final Fantasy 13. At some point in my life, it was Kingdom Hearts 2. At some point in my life, it was Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And at some point in my life, it was Streets of Rage 2. So I just want to know what changes, what made these things happen. And it's just age over time. But there's certain people that just stick with their main game that they love for all time. And I just want to know, what steps do you take to make this game become your number one pick over all other games? After many other games comes out, from Spider-Man 2, from Ryza, and all these other great games that has come out, that just makes it be your favorite. When I was younger and I first got into gaming, my first console was the Sega Genesis. I got it when it was a birthday, and the two games I got with it was Sonic 2 and Streets of Rage 2. Of course, I loved them both. I played them non-stop, and it became my main source of entertainment for years to come. And Sonic the Hedgehog became my favorite main character for long periods of time. But when I look back at it, I think the game that stuck with me most was Streets of Rage 2. This was the game that really tested my ability to play games. Not saying Sonic the Hedgehog 2 wasn't a major game that taught me life lessons as well. However, Streets of Rage 2 was a game I could play with someone else. I can hang out with that person and go on an adventure and see if we can make it to the entire game without dying, and saving that person before they're dying. Plus, also enjoying some good, sick ass beats while playing the game. I think to this day, Streets of Rage 2 has one of the best soundtracks ever known to man. And at that time, I didn't know what video game music really felt like until I seen and heard Streets of Rage 2, and oh my god, the nostalgia I have for that game, I could play it for hours. But I think what made it my favorite game was the fact that I was able to play it with my brothers or my cousins or whoever was playing with me at the time, and that's what made it so much fun, is the idea of playing games with another individual, and that's what made it my favorite game. But as I grew up, things changed and games got more advanced and more possibilities came around, and games switched over to more 3D environments. And a game that really captured my heart more than any other game, even though Final Fantasy VII was there, my first JRPG that really got me into JRPGs, Final Fantasy VII was one of those games that I did really love. And I have a whole kind of story about this where I made a video about it, where I go into depth about it. If you want to hear that, hit the cards in the left hand corner if you want to hear all that. But fast forward, I wasn't really good at Final Fantasy VII. I tried to be good at it, but I wasn't. And I didn't really like reading when I was a younger child, so I definitely didn't get the idea of how to beat certain bosses. But my cousin beat it for me, and it didn't really resonate with me that much, as I didn't play it for myself, so I didn't connect with the story. But I did love a lot of the characters like Tifa and Cloud and all the other characters that was in it. But Tifa was one of my favorites for a long time. But shifted to the Dreamcast. Dreamcast was my favorite console of all time. It had all my favorite classes, from Sonic to Soccer Wars to Jet Set Radio. You name it, there was games on it for every single IP that you can name up. But one game in particular was Power Stone 2. Oh my goodness. I would play that game for hours with my friends, my brothers, my cousin, mostly my cousin and my brother. We would play that game non-stop. We played that game so much the disc broke because it was just so much fun. And I think, again, that's where my gaming core comes from, is playing with others, bashing people in the face for a nice good Power Stone, jumping off different platforms and environments. Oh no, the sky is falling. I don't know if you guys remember Power Stone 2, but man, that was my Smash Brothers. It was the game of all games for me at the time. And just the core concept of all these different characters from different backgrounds coming together, trying to find these different Power Stones. Some of them turned into a Power Ranger, some turned into a Super Saiyan, some turned into some crazy ass ninja robot chick. I don't know, but the game was super fun, and at the time, that was my favorite game as well. But shifting even more to the future, as I started to learn more about games and myself, and as I adapted to the new world and everything else, the PS2 was here. And JRPGs have advanced to a whole new level. And a game called Kingdom Hearts came out, and man, I don't think I really need to explain Kingdom Hearts to people. Final Fantasy meets Disney. A dream match made in heaven. Had all your favorite classic characters that you could all possibly love. Cloud, Squall, Aerith, Yuffie. The list goes on, and plus all the Disney characters from Tarzan to Hercules to Aladdin. My God, Aladdin! It was a great game and an amazing adventure. And as games went by, Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, and I can remember watching every single trailer, every single promotional until the game came out. I went down to EB Games. That doesn't exist anymore because GameStop bought them out. R.I.P. Back when there was competition in the gaming market, selling market. What? Now there's just GameStop. I mean, there's Walmart, Best Buy, and all that. But back in that day, it was GameStop, It's All About Games, and EB Games. With EB Games, I went down to buy my copy of Kingdom Hearts 2, and oh my goodness, I couldn't get enough of that game. That game was so much fun, and me and my brother loved it so much that we both wanted to play it, but we only had one PS2 and one copy of the game, so we would take turns by each person had an hour to play the game. And after that hour is up, you had to get off the sticks and shift it over to the next person. It was a good formula that we created, but that's the idea of gaming. I think gaming created new ways for you to bond with certain people. It helps you math and tell time, because I was watching that clock like glue. Every time that hour hit, I was like, all right, you gotta get off. It's time for me to get on the sticks and then catch up to where they were at. And then once they went to sleep, I played the game all night. So I'm like, look, I want to beat this all in one day so I don't have to get off the sticks by the time I'm done with the game. So, like, Kingdom Hearts 2, like a lot of people, became such a fan favorite game. It had everything that you could want. Great combat, great characters, great exploration, great motivations. It just felt so perfect, and it just felt so right in my eyes. And that's why it was my favorite for a long time. Until I got back into JRPGs like Neptunia and Atelier and other games that came arise, like my DC Universe phase, where that became my favorite game. But I don't really count DC Universe as a real game because it was a live service game and it consumed a lot of my PS3 life. But I mean, I still had time for other games like Batman and Spider-Man and Atelier and Tunia and whatever game also was on the PS3 at the time. And of course, Final Fantasy 13. Now, a lot of people didn't really like Final Fantasy 13, and I can understand why. It had more of a linear fashion to it. It took itself a little bit too serious at times, but I loved it. You know, it definitely was borrowing some elements from Final Fantasy 7, and it showed in a lot of the characters like Lightning and Sash and Neo and all these other characters that kind of was similar to other characters in Final Fantasy VII. But maybe that's why I enjoyed it so much, because this was the first time I could be at an age that I could understand Final Fantasy and play the game at a level that matches Final Fantasy VII. So that's probably why I really enjoyed it. And of course, my favorite character was Sarah, who was super cute and adorable, and I loved her personality. Plus, she was played by Laura Bailey, who was my favorite voice actress at the time. Probably still is. But the thing is, it just had everything that I loved about the game. And I really did enjoy it. Plus, the music was so good. I think a lot of people are starting to appreciate Final Fantasy 13 now than they did back then. But it is nice to know that people are starting to understand that Final Fantasy 13 was a great game. Now, we don't talk about 2 or 3, because those are some to meet the desire. That's only if you're truly into the Final Fantasy 13 lore, but 13 itself was a pretty solid game. And then the announcement of the Final Fantasy VII Remake came around, and that's when the love of Final Fantasy started to come on back. And that's when I started to play games like Crisis Core, the PSP game, the prequel to Final Fantasy VII. It explains the lore and depths of everything that happened, how Zack became the Bee, how Sephiroth became the Bee in some ways, how all the crazy war and moments happened that led up to Cloud being who he is, meeting Aerith, and all these other things. Crisis Core was such a unique and fun experience, but of course it was on the handheld. So like, I had a rule that most handhelds didn't become my favorite games because they were on the handheld and I was more of a console person. Don't ask me why. I was young and I was stupid. Okay, I don't know why. I couldn't tell you why. But in the time frame, Crisis Core couldn't be my favorite game because it wasn't a real game, because it was a side game. I was weird back then. But nowadays, it is my favorite game, because it's one of my favorite games, because it comes under the Final Fantasy umbrella. And now, again, we're at the point where Final Fantasy VII Remake came out. And again, not to sound like a broken record, but I could play that game for hours. I could play that game again right now, even though I'm playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, because I think about that game when I'm not even playing the game. And I think that's what comes down to a favorite game. It's a game that you just think about, that you just want to play. No matter how long you're playing it, it doesn't feel like a game. It just feels like enjoyment the entire time. Of course, certain games come from your favorite game being nostalgia, playing it with others, enjoying just the company of the game itself, the story, the characters, and just what it motivates you to do. It could be anything. But again, I ask you, what is your favorite game? And why is it your favorite game? What story do you have of that game becoming your favorite game? And have you seen yourself evolve when it comes to picking your favorite game? Because it feels like every time I change my favorite game, I feels like I've grown as a person, and my values and outlook on life has changed. The people that I hang out with has changed. Certain people that came in my life that made me change to play certain games and all these other different things. Because back in the day, one thing that changed for me is I didn't play a lot of Nintendo games when I was younger. Besides like Pokemon, I did play a lot of Pokemon and like Mario Party and stuff like that, but like the core Mario games, I never played. I didn't play any of the Star Fox games. I played Legend of Zelda because it's Zelda. But other than that, I didn't play Donkey Kong. I didn't play Metroid. I didn't play any of that until I met a friend of mine that is like my brother, that helped me explore more options about gaming and just helped me understand what it was that gaming has so much more to offer. So then I started to play games like Fire Emblem and Xenoblade and all these other games that just made more sense, and not that more sense, but just was so much more fun to indulge. And you know, it just helps you grow and makes you adapt to certain games and formats. So again, I ask you, what is your favorite game? Because I would love to know, and what makes it your favorite game in the comments down below. But thank you for listening to me ramble about favorite games, because it's just something I wanted to talk about for a while now, and now I can put it in a good video format for you guys, I guess. I don't know. But that is all I got for today. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you guys did, let me know by hitting the like button, subscribing for more, and I will see you guys in the next video next time. Deuces. Join the Discord as well. We have a whole conversation and community down there. If you want to join, the link is in the description down below. We have these kind of conversations, or could, all the time, and I would love to hear from what you guys say down in the Discord. Yeah. All right. Now bye. Deuces.